Now, what I've picked up here is a smaller English bass file, which actually is a copy of an instrument from the 17th century. So you notice it's smaller, has 6 strings, but the technology is the same. And now what you're going to notice about these pieces I'm going to play for you, they're very, very chordal, like you'd expect from guitar music. And they were typically used in notation we refer to as tablature in the Renaissance, which would have 6 lines and letters to represent where you put your fingers on the instrument. Now, often you could play viol tablature on lutes, but not lute tablature on viols because, well, with a bow, you can't leave out strings in between. So here's a couple of pieces by Mr. Tobias Hume. This first one's called Love's Farewell and Captain Hume's Pavot. And these pieces were published for the first time in 1605. So if you think culturally, you're looking at the end of the reign of Queen Elizabeth in England, kind of when Shakespeare's writing his last plays and when Dowland is writing some of his best lute music. So just to give you an idea of when these pieces were written. Now, I have to kind of be a little bit on the pretentiousness police for the moment, is because of our underhand bow grip, and especially dealing with the larger sizes, I promise that the reason that I'm moving the instrument forward and back is not to be like, I look so very cool playing this weird instrument, is it's purely for technical reasons. Is that if I was to bow my bottom string, you can see my hand is jammed up next to my body. So a lot of the surviving method books, because these instruments stopped being played in the late 1700s, the only way people were able to rediscover how they were played at the beginning of the 20th century was by these surviving method books, as they would know to move the instrument forward slightly to be able to free up their right arm to be able to manipulate the bottom strings. And when I play on the even bigger bass viol, you'll probably notice me do that a lot more. Now, often when I've had people, when I've done demos, they'll go, well, you've got tapes on your instruments. Didn't you have that on your instrument when you were a beginner? It's like, well, the frets function differently than tapes do on a string instrument. And the reason is that they're there for acoustic reasons. Is you have an open string, which will keep resonating on a viol. And the purpose of the frets is so every note you play that's bowed, that's fretted, will ring as if it were an open string. And that's a main reason why they were fretted. And actually, the frets cause many more complications than they solve. But this next piece is probably a little bit more accurate in regards to what you expect out of a pavin. And you probably might have heard the French term pavane, which is the same sort of dance, is that they tend to be kind of melancholic in nature. Now, we have all these vastly scientific terms for dealing with psychological states of mind nowadays, right? You know, they've all lists of disorders out the wazoo, ADD, ADHD. Well, the way they divided up and defined personality types at the time were by what they referred to as temperaments. And so if you were a melancholic, meaning chronically sad, you tended to have what they called an artist or musician's temperament. It was kind of like striking a pose, like, oh, woe is me. But you'll hear that in this piece.